He opened the door, wondering, closed it, and walked in. He then realized that nothing had changed since this morning. He was still narrating out loud every moment of his life. He took a deep breath and sighed deeply. What was going on? What could have happened to cause this? Everything he said and did was not only narrated by himself, but he was also unable to talk in the first person singular. He thought deeply to try to find an answer. God damn it, he said, as he slapped his hand against his forehead. He couldn't stand it anymore and started to pace around the room. This is crazy, he yelled out loud. Yesterday, everything was normal. Today, complete insanity, he screamed to himself. He paused suddenly. Stop it! He yelled out loud. Stop it! He yelled out loud again to no avail. God damn it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! He repeated 3 times as if that would somehow stop it. Ah!
He threw his hands up to the ceiling and screamed to the heavens above. He looked dejectedly straight out and said, "My God, what could happen next?
Nothing could surprise me now.
He came in the room and closed the door. He stopped as he saw the other man. They stared at each other for a moment.
The man came in and closed the door. He stared at each other for a moment. He suddenly realized that this man was also narrating his own actions. How could this be?
He heard the other man narrate that he was also narrating. How could it be that 2 people were narrating their own lives?
He walked towards the other man, who also moved towards him.
He walked towards the other man, who also moved towards him.
He wondered how he could communicate with this other man since he could only speak in the third person and in past tense.
The other man narrated out loud, wondering how he could communicate with the other man since he could only speak in past tense narration and in the third person.
The other man heard what he was narrating and therefore could communicate with him. However, it would be extremely confusing since neither man could speak in first person or present tense.
The other man expressed the problem that this strange situation was causing, and he, well, not the other man, but he pointed to himself, was also wondering the same thing. Unable to speak in the present or first person, forced to view themselves from the outside as if they were living in the future, but looking back.
He, not he, but he pointed to himself, interrupted the other man, realizing that he pointed to the other man, he was onto something when he narrated that he pointed to both of them, were forced to look at each other from the outside, as if they were in the future, but looking back. If they, he pointed to both of them, were therefore living in the future, but narrating the past, they, he pointed to both of them, had therefore already lived the current present.
He pointed to himself, thought that the other man had used the word therefore twice, which was a bit redundant and a little bit conceited on the other man's part.
He pointed to himself, was a little bit hurt by the other man's narrated opinion and thought that he, the other man, should probably kept it to himself.
Oh, great, he thought sarcastically. He, we, they, he pointed at both of them, were going to get nothing done squabbling over stupid narrated remarks. And if this kind of unproductive narration were to continue, nothing could surprise him now.
She came in the room and closed the door. She stopped as she saw the 2 men. They all looked at each other for a moment.
Well, the woman came in the room and closed the door. She stopped and stared at the 2 men. They all looked at each other for a moment. Then he looked at the other man for a moment and started narrating the woman's entrance.
and said to herself, "This is insane. Yesterday, everything was normal. This morning, I woke up and suddenly I'm narrating my own life," she screams to herself.
He pointed to himself, suddenly realized that though the woman was narrating using the past tense, she had also just used the first person singular when she narrated out loud what she expressed herself. He pointed to himself, narrated to the other man to watch and listen. I'm speaking in first person now as I speak, he said. He interrupted himself to the annoying narration. He said, and continued. By using first person singular, by using dialogue, I can speak. Try it, he said, triumphantly.
He pointed to himself, was a bit apprehensive, but gave it a try. This is something I am doing. He kept doing it. He pointed to himself, was astounded, and yelled, I did it!
She looked at both men and said, "What, those two clowns only figured this out now? I've been talking in the first person using quotes since lunchtime." She yelled at them like the morons they were. "Now I'm stuck with two idiots," she said angrily. Nothing could surprise me now.
Él entró, cerró la puerta. Después de ver a los dos hombres y a la mujer. Luego se miraron los unos a los otros.
He pointed to himself, looked at the other two in a defeated way, and said,
He pointed to himself, looked at the other two, and said in a defeated way,
She pointed at herself, looked at the other two men, and said in a defeated way,
"Oh, crap!"
¡Coño, carajo! Le dije.
그녀는 방에 들어와서 두 남자와 두 여자를 보고 멈췄었다. 그들은 잠시 동안 마주 보았다. 두 남자와 한 여자는 짜증난 표정으로 그들의 팔을 던졌다. 근데 한 여자는 무슨 일이 있었는지 모르는 눈치였다. 나는 오늘 아침부터 일어 있었는 것을 생각해보면 별로 놀랍지 않다. 아이고,